All right, we are right at 11, so we will get started. Good morning. Welcome to the webinar, 5 Ways to Save Time and Improve Services with LibraryIQ. I'm here with Cal, Portia, and David from LibraryIQ. They will be walking you through some tips and tricks and then share some information about the library pricing tiers for those libraries that would like to continue the service individually. So I am going to turn it over to Cal, Portia, and David.
Yeah, thanks so much, Courtney, for having us. So for the kind of like the meeting structure today, I'm going to do a walkthrough for the platform with those 5 things. Probably take about 25 or 30 minutes. And then, as Courtney mentioned, we'll talk through the contracts, the future of our relationship, and all of that good stuff. Dave will kind of jump on with that information at the end. During this, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we will get those answered for you. All right, so if I haven't met with you before, my name is Cal Marquise. I work at Library IQ. We do these, I guess, every quarter we get together and we talk about a different topic. And this one is especially exciting as we're all kind of recovering from a busy summer. We're looking for ways that we can save time, prep for the next year coming up. So hopefully I'm able to show you some well-loved things maybe you've already seen before, but also some new things that we've rolled out in the last few months within IQ. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. All right, so a couple of the things that we kind of listed in the agenda for our 5 things. One thing that we want to look at and focus on today in IQ is gathering data, whether it's for your annual reports or a board meeting got put on your calendar for tomorrow and you need something to come prepared with. There are all sorts of situations that come up in libraries where you might need some kind of like statistics, some data, so that you can really tell the library story in those different situations that we all find ourselves in from time to time. So, one area of the platform that sometimes we don't get to always talk about when we do these sort of get togethers and these trainings is within our metrics section. So, I'm actually going to start there today. This year, we released something called Metrics Dashboard, and we have data all throughout IQ. So we have tons of built-in charts and graphs, rich data coming from your patrons, your collections, your circulation transactions. And what we really realized is there are bits and pieces from here and there that would be really great to create your own kind of IQ experience, your own IQ page. So in Metrics Dashboard, when you sign in and click on this, if you're doing that right now and following along, nothing's broken. It will just be blank when you first click onto this. And that's because you can kind of choose your own adventure here. You can add tables and charts that you really find the most important and that are really great to have on hand if you do find yourself in front of that the board or the Rotary Club to pull up at a glance what's most important and what's most impactful for you to share. To get started with this, it is very quick. Usually I'm quickly building these while I join the Zoom, so you can really create these in truly 2 minutes. All you have to do to build one of these for yourself is click Add Table and Chart. It's going to pop up something that looks like this, and you're going to tell IQ what type of chart you're interested in. So maybe you want a line chart, a pie chart. Here, I'm just displaying a single total so that if I need to pull that on a monthly basis, for example, it's right there at my disposal. You're going to give your little chart a name. So I'm looking at total patrons. I might want to remember that I'm looking at it as of a certain time frame, so maybe last month, or maybe you're looking at June through July on your chart. Then all you're going to do is you're going to select your data points from the dropdown. This might vary a little bit depending on kind of your individual setup, but everyone will have access to certain data points like they're at the bottom called IQ Insights, but related to how many patrons you have, how many new patrons you have, your collection size, things like how many new items you've been adding, circulation counts. So what's my adult physical circulation for each month this year? And we also recently added, and we'll look at this today, some data related to holds. So how many holds did I fill last month for our patrons, for example? Then you just select your time frame. And I also will say for multi-branch systems, if you just want to look at this from a specific branch, you'll also have that ability to do so. Then just hit save and it will go onto your page. And you can, copy these, make kind of a bunch of different ones of these. You can move them all around. And you can see just some of the different things that I created, like I said, right before I was joining this Zoom. So my physical circulation counts next to my overdrive circulation counts and some things related to my collection, so different items that I've added. These can be easily printed, put into other presentations, or you can just pull this page up and kind of uh, look at this data with any of those stakeholders or other staff members that, might need to go over this. Another page where you can kind of quickly see all this information as well at a glance is metrics analysis. So in this same section, this has kind of gotten some additional updates as well this year. So if you want to look at how well, let's say your performance numbers from last month, for example, or a certain month, you can go to metrics by month, and you can see for each branch and across the system, for example, those different totals. So it's just an at-a-glance page. You can export this, but if this will help you to, prepare any sort of report, it's available for you all in one place. All right. Okay. Well, number two that we have today to talk through is curating collections. At IQ's heart, I mean, we have a lot of rich, wonderful collection data. And I would probably steer you to Collection Analyze to really stay on top of your different collection management and collection maintenance. We often kind of start you off in IQ with collection codes. This is where that you can look at your collections based off of your library's classifications. So things like juvenile fiction versus your adult DVDs and how they're performing. Do we need to do any weeding? Do we have some opportunities for things that we can put on display? So we'll talk through that today. I do also like to point out that we offer this same type of data by Dewey and by BISAC. So if let's say your library has all of your nonfiction in one kind of big nonfiction bucket, that can be a lot to manage and look at 20,000 titles all at once. With physical collection by Dewey, you can look at those collections at the hundreds, the tens, and even down to the ones. So we do all of that mapping for you. And then with BISAC, you're going to get the same type of information, but BISAC is a classification code that's assigned by publishers to ISBN numbers. And this can really help when you're looking at genres, so fiction thriller, fiction romance, and to see how those are performing. So I definitely encourage you to explore these other pages when you're looking at your collections. We try to slice and dice it and show you the information in multiple different ways. Here, though, you can look at your collections by a specific category. So look for these drop downs throughout IQ. They'll really help you save time because you can just look at all of your children's collections in one click, for example. And all of this data, again, if you're in a multi-branch system, you're able to look at it across the whole system level, or by an individual branch. When we start to get into the data that's available, anywhere that you see a blue kind of hyperlinked number, this lets you know that there's an item level list one click away. So we really try to help you save time by building in a lot of really rich data in those item level lists. So if you're trying to get a whole pulse, I guess, on your juvenile fiction collection, you can click right here and it will show you the 6,301 items currently in that collection. So just with one click, I can pull that up and it should load in just a second. And then you'll have access to all of that information. So I can see things like the last time it was checked out, when that item was added to the collection, its call number, its status, its barcode. So I could quickly, export this and take it out to the shelf and maybe create a pull list right from here. We also have some kind of default performance indicators in here. For example, one that we use is no circ in 3 years. So if that's a parameter that you use to begin sort of the weeding process, you can go ahead and again click into those lists and it will show you everything within that collection that has not circulated in 3 years or more. Another one that I love is DOA or dead on arrival. Right now, this defaults to items that have been added into your collections within the last 3 to 15 months that have not made their way out of your library yet. When we think about all of the time and the money and the effort that goes into purchasing and acquiring and processing new titles, and we really start to think about it like that, we really want to give these titles or these items a chance to move and to make it into the hands of a patron. So, for example, if I click into Juvenile Easy, we have 113 titles in this collection that have not left the library yet. If these, on average, are maybe costing you, let's just even say $10, which is probably low, that's already over $1,000 of new materials that haven't made their ways into a patron's hands. So I like to think about this as your yellow flag. We really want to do a little bit of promotion on these items. These make wonderful displays, end caps, face outs. Put them in your next newsletter, select 10 and promote them. See if that helps to move them. But what we don't want is that kind of money to have been wasted and those items to end up eventually in that no circ in 3 or for candidates for weeding before they even made them out the door, before they even made their way out the door. So I love DOA. I think it's a wonderful list, a wonderful resource right with one click so that you can see which items just need a little bit more help getting that exposure to your patrons. Um, Finally, here we have some data related to usage and patron demand as you scroll over. So things like turnover, relative use, and stock status. Turnover is great to kind of see a gauge of the wear and tear on these collections. So for example, if I sort this to the top, I'm going to see really high usage or really high circulations on things like my equipment, my board books, my easy paperbacks. So turnover is looking on average in the last 12 months, how many times have the items in this collection circulated? So when I see this with libraries all the time when we're meeting, it's often our Library of Things collections. Anything that has to do with like technology is always at the top, any type of museum passes. These are the things that our patrons love. When I see a really high turnover rate with our juvenile collections, especially because that's also very common, I like to think about are all of the pages there? Are the covers in good condition? Do we need to give a little bit more attention to this collection because when we're getting to, each item maybe circulating 10 times a year, that's a lot of wear and tear on those materials, especially things like easy readers or, more of like the flimsy type bindings. And then finally here, relative use. This has to do with the percentage of circulation on items in relation to the percentage of items within that collection. In a perfect world, we're going to see what we call a balanced collection out of 1. So do you have enough items in those collections to really meet your patron demand? What I like to do here is you can sort something like the stock status where you can see collections that are getting a overstocked or even critically overstocked score versus those collections that maybe critically understocked. Like you can add more items to meet the patron demand. This data is a really good candidate to export to CSV. You can look at this in Excel or Google Sheets. And I like to kind of look at it side by side and say, okay, which collections are we really critically understocked in? Where are our patrons telling us that, they'd really like to see more items? And then I like to look at my critically overstocked collections and say, could I shift next time I'm ordering to maybe purchase even one less title in one of those critically overstocked collections, and instead, let's try to, put a few more items in those critically understocked collections. Right, just looking at the chat. Okay. The next area for our number three today is has to do with resource sharing in a consortium. And one of the newest features that we released in IQ has to do with our holds. So holds is probably one of the most well-loved things when it comes to libraries. The people that love holds, they're power users. I myself will, late at night be on the library catalog placing items on hold. My friend text is about what things do you have on hold, or did you place this title on hold? So it really is just a wonderful service that libraries offer to your communities. It's free. It's almost like a concierge service where I can get a title that I want just waiting for me to pick up. Like, that's wonderful. So, we really want to celebrate that work that libraries are doing. And one way that we did this is pulling in some additional holds data. You're going to find this in collection circulation under physical circ and holds. We sort of revamped where you might be familiar with the daily and monthly circulation stats that we have kind of always had in IQ, but now we've sort of put this together in a tabbed view. So you can look at your daily circulation stats, your monthly circulation stats, but we've added some data around holds. In unfilled holds, here you're going to see at the title level which titles have holds on them that have yet to be filled. So unfilled is they have not been filled yet. People are still waiting on them. Here, you're going to see numbers across the whole consortium, as well as within your library system. So I can look at my beloved. I can see across the consortium, it's got 17 holds currently. And then on my library, so libraries have selected one of my branches in my system as a pickup location. So I have one of those unfilled holds in my system. This can be sorted. So what's popular across the consortium might not be the same titles that are popular with your own kind of library patrons or your users. So we have a hotspot at this library. It looks like it's probably only their hotspots. So that is the most high in demand item, or sorry, title based off of the holds. You're also able to see how many copies you own of that title. And from that, what we're putting together is your library level holds copy per ratio. So if at your library you want to see, sometimes you'll sort this, and I've seen libraries that have like a 20 here or a 15 here. Maybe you feel really comfortable with something like a 5 or a 6. We hear that a lot from libraries. But once you get kind of over that, it might be a suggestion to, purchase an additional title for your community, or, if depending on how you do your selection process, if, it's done at the consortial level, maybe it's like communicating that to them. But you're just more clearly able to see based off of your demand at your kind of systemized level, how many people are waiting, and like, do we need to adjust our copies to meet that demand? I also really like oldest hold request date, because during that holds process, sometimes something just kind of gets jammed up. So, for example, maybe a patron found the one bib record that had one item on it that has now gone missing, long overdue, lost, damaged, and they're kind of stuck on that bib record with that hold request. So what I would recommend is when you're sorting these, take a look at in the catalog at those titles and see if maybe you can move that hold to another bib record, or to another copy instead. Maybe it's held up in a regular print and you don't have that any longer, but you have the large print or the paperback or something like that. But I looked at some things with with other libraries, and I saw someone waiting for over 5 years for a hold. Like, we want to kind of clean that up and help you to see where there are any of those kind of jams or people have gotten stuck. Okay, number four, simplifying ordering. So the funny thing is, we created this agenda and this Zoom invite I saw last December. And if there is ever a time in the library land, library kind of atmosphere right now where we need to help with simplifying ordering, wow, how timely. There has been so much going on in the last few weeks. We have had tons of emails, tons of calls from libraries, stressed out, overwhelmed. And, can you help us with ordering? We need to see what new titles are out again. All of our workflows have changed. So we are definitely hearing that feedback from libraries. One area of the platform where we do help with looking at titles to potentially purchase is within Collection Discover. One area specifically that I want to show you that has had updating over the last few months is within curated lists. We do have a partnership with both Brodart and Ingram, where they provide us with not only a lot of rich metadata when it comes to like series information, for example, that we're able to display within IQ, but they've also been gracious enough to provide us with some lists of theirs. So, for example, in curated lists, I could come in to something like vendor, I could select Brodart or Ingram, for example. I know with Ingram, we've been getting a lot of requests for their hits list, which is the high interest title selections. We do have those available in IQ. So if I go to Ingram Adult, let's say I want to look at which lists are coming in from Ingram, I can select something like adult fiction, adult nonfiction. And how this works is the provider is sending us the ISBN number associated with that title. Then what we're going to do is we're going to look through all of your records that have been sent to us, and we're going to see if we can make a match to that ISBN. We'll let you know if we're finding that match. It might be in blue. I'm not seeing those right here. But if you are interested, just even when you're browsing, like a Pioneer Woman Cooks, I want to see what's going on with that. You can click on that and it will show you a preview of the cover and a summary of the title. So you can kind of browse right from IQ. There is data here as well if you scroll over. Like, for example, we bring in the BISAC data. So if I'm just really interested in bulking up my cooking section, I could even just start searching cooking and really focus down on just looking at through those titles. It will show you the publisher information, the format, again, all provided by the vendor. So it should match to what's showing in like Ingram's platform. And they even provide us with the publication date. So you can sort of sort this. I've seen titles, even coming out in January, and you can see kind of, to plan that ordering when you might expect that to come. Now, with this and with all of the pages in Discover, so we also have a very similar looking layout, but with book lists. This is where we bring in things like Amazon bestsellers list, Publishers Weekly list, New York Times list. It's all laid out the same way. But if you are interested in potentially purchasing some of these titles, you're not going to do the purchasing within IQ, but you can quickly create a cart. I want to do some new cookbooks and I want to hit add. And I can view my cart at any time. And I could even put, let's say I want, 4 of these or something like that. I can go ahead, build out that cart. When I'm done with my selection within IQ, I can export this right out of here and I can upload it into any major kind of purchasing vendor of my choice. So we're really trying to help with that matching and by bringing together both the curated lists from vendors as well as in book lists, those places that we know your patrons are following, like the Amazon, the New York Times lists. We're hoping to help you build out those carts, build out those to purchase lists a little bit quicker. All right. And number 5, save the best for last. You've probably heard me go on and on and on about this before, but my favorite thing about IQ is set it and forget it reports. And you're going to find that in Collection Maintain in Report Builder. So in a past life, when I worked at a very large library system, there was basically one person in our entire system that could get me a report. And if they went on their honeymoon or went on vacation or took a day off, we couldn't curate our collections and weed our collections. And it was hard to know what was in the library to make a display based, for an upcoming program, for example. And that can be really difficult when we have kind of those challenges. So I love Report Builder because everyone has access to this that has an IQ sign-in, and you can create as many reports as you want. The other day, I was working with the library. I was laughing because she's like, I have over 1,500 saved searches. And I was like, wow, you're the winner. Like, I've never heard anyone have that many. So there's no limit to however many you want to create. And I just kind of want to give you a quick preview of how quickly you can build out these searches or these reports and what is available to do with this. So in its sort of original iteration, a lot of people thought about this just for weeding. So I want to build a weeding list out. I want to, put some conditions together for that. But what we found is libraries are doing so much more with it. So I'm just going to show you some examples of what's available today and just quickly walk you through how you can build one of these searches and save it so that it will send the results right to your inbox. Okay, so I'm going to do nonfiction because sometimes that can notoriously be difficult to kind of get a deeper analysis on. So you can select an age range, for example, like I want to run this on all adult items, or you can even do it collection specific. I want to look at within my adult fiction things that have not circulated in more than 60 months or 5 years. And I want to look at a few other things. So, for example, I would really like to look at only a Dewey range. So, I'm going to select Dewey number and I'm going to do between, well, I was on cookbooks earlier, so I'm going to stay in the 600s. Cookbooks and hobbies, it's that time of year, everyone's interested in that section. I am going to then also add additional conditions. And I want to include things like, I want to get rid of things that just were published a long time ago, especially in a nonfiction range. They tend to be kind of outdated. So let's look at publication year. And I want to do anything before 10 years ago. So I'm going to do 2015. Now, I have no idea if this is going to bring up any results, but let's click run, see what we got. Okay, we got a few. So that is just how quick it is to run those reports. And if this is too big of a data set, I could continue just to add conditions. So for example, I could say, and lifetime circulation is less than 5. So in its whole life with us, it hasn't circulated that well either. So that brought it down about a few hundred items there. Other things that we have in here that you can add that can be really helpful. Author. I just want to see everything we have by a certain author. We're doing a big push for one of their titles or they're coming in to speak. Copies in library can be really wonderful, especially if you tend to be like a dumping ground for like every single thing that James Patterson has published. Do a copies in library search. Say, hey, where do we have more than 3 copies of something? I showed you Dewey number. That's really great to do a specific range. We have things like, let me see. So there's so many. Publication year, I showed you that. Isn't it a series or not? The status. So I was working with a library who was doing a big kind of renovation, and they wanted to understand in certain collections how many items were checked out at any given time. I was like, oh yeah, no problem. That can take like 30 seconds here. And they had been struggling to find this data. So something like status checked out, I could see within a collection the percentage of items that weren't within the library. Okay, so once you like whatever you've built here and you want to use it again, just click Save as a new search and give it a name. And then every user is going to have access to a Save Searches tab right across the top where you can save those hundreds of, of saved searches that you want. At any time, you can come back in here and you could run this again, and it would pre-fill in everything that you had sort of saved there. But the best thing is just to schedule that to come to your inbox. So it'll send you those updated results from that report on a frequency of your choice. So if this is something that, you need to look at on a monthly basis, keep that collection tidy, just set it up monthly, choose a start date, and then forget about it. We'll send you a report and you don't even have to really log back in. It would just automatically send you those results. And then lastly, the other thing I just like to point out on this screen is in Save Searches, we also load you with, I think, over a dozen different IQ templates to get you started. So if you just need a little bit of inspiration on what is possible or what you can build out within Report Builder, for example, children print popular series, I'm just interested to see what is that and what's going to come up. So I click Run. It's going to pre-fill in with that template, and it's going to run those results for you. You could come in here and adjust the parameters, but this is going to show you in this case like your most popular children's materials in a series. All right. So those are my quick rundown of 5 kind of either new things or maybe some well-loved features in IQ that can really help you save time. We really want to highlight on how they can help improve your library services. All right, let me just make sure. It looks like we have some things with logging in and getting accounts set up in the chat. Thank you, Portia.
Yeah, I think that's all I saw. We're just having a good time over
Yeah,
here,
okay.
getting everybody back in. So, but I think everybody should be good now. And I did put my email in the chat too. So if anybody has any trouble after the call, let us know.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so then if we're ready, if there's any other questions about, I know I kind of went quickly through it, but any other questions about what I showed you here today or what is available? And then otherwise, I'll kind of stop sharing my screen and we'll talk about next steps.
Okay, I am stopping the recording.